Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host Rashid, and right now we're waiting for our guest Dimitri Lascaris to join us. So before we go into anything, I'm trying to see if these things are streaming. I see that we're streaming on Rumble. Give me 1 second because it seems as though we're not streaming on it seems like we're not streaming on YouTube. And give me 1 second, okay? Let me see if the link is okay. Give me 1 second, everybody. I'm sorry. This is what I have to go through. My dashboard is not showing me. All right, there we are. There we are. All right. I wanted to make sure. I'm sorry, everybody. I just wanted to make sure that we're streaming. Shout out to everybody who watch us on Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, and the channels of YouTube, which is the Red Pill Journal and the Red Pill Diaries, and over on Locals. Thank you so much. I'm waiting for a message from Dimitri. Now I want you to understand, Dimitri is in Palestine. He's in occupied Palestine, and so he may be having difficulties right now trying to access the link or whatever like that, because they go to any links to stop the show. This particular show, I don't know why they act like we have 1 million subscribers or whatever, but it's always something concerning this platform right here. So I'm going to check my email and I'm going to see if Dimitri has sent a link or sent me any information to see if there are any difficulties. So give me 1 second, okay? I want to be square with you guys, be up front. No, so let's see. 1 second. We are live, waiting for you. Hold on 1 second, everybody. Give me a second. For you, and give me 1 second as I try to send him the link again, because I don't know if the link was broken. I don't know what's going on, so give me 1 second. I want to just double make sure I got all my stuff together. All right, here we are. Put that here. Boom. I just sent them another link, okay? So we're good. We're square now. Today we're supposed to be joined by Dimitri Lascaris, live from Palestine, and he's gonna, if he's able to join us, he's gonna tell us about the thoughts and the feelings of the people on the ground there, what's going on there, and also he's gonna give us commentary on his thoughts about the geopolitical environment, not just in the Middle East, but in Europe and around the globe. Also, we're gonna have live streams all next week. I want you to join us, especially on Friday of next week. I got an email, a confirmation again yesterday from Tariq Cyril Amar. We'll be streaming live from Istanbul, Turkey. Okay, and that'll be a power hitter also. But while we wait, let's chop it up. Okay, hopefully he'll get the message. Hopefully they're not blocking him or whatever like that. But it was something that was said yesterday, I believe, and I think the Western media pretty much overlooked. And it was said by the spokesperson for the Russian Federation, and he said that Russia is now at war. Right? He said this was a military operation of what do they call it? They didn't call it war. They called it a I forget the name of the operation that they have, but I'll look in. I know somebody already put it in the chat probably. Oh, shout out to Holly. Shout out to Deborah. What? They're threatening Candace? What? Oh my God. Shout out to Joel. I got to give a shout out to also our new channel member, Leo Ruiz. I gotta highlight you, Leo. Thank you so much for joining the platform, joining the membership, all that. I really appreciate that. But let me get to something. The spokesperson I think it's Dimitri Peskov. He said that it went from a special military operation to war. And then he let us know why it went from that position to war. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Give me 1 second. I just saw it. Let's see. We'll just put up Russia, Ukraine. Peskov. We'll just put up Peskov. And I believe that's on you can pull this up on Sputnik, but we're going to be on RT for a minute, okay? And the name of the article, and let me look into my dashboard and see if he's made it in yet. He's not made it in yet. So the name of the article is Russia is at War - Kremlin. So this is from the Kremlin. That just like if the spokesperson for the White House said that America is at war, they would say -White House. So this is not some sidebar. This is not someone that is not in the know. This is not someone that is just hypothesizing. This is someone that is a representative of the president of the Russian Federation. And so this article states, it says, what started as a military operation has escalated after the West became a participant, Dimitri Peskov has said. So that's major right there. I don't think you understand the level of what that means right there. If Russia has publicly stated that this first started off as a military operation, not a war, but a special military operation, and then it metastasized into a war, and then he gives you the reason why, because of the Western world or Western nations' involvement in this. He is telling you now that Russia is at war with the West. That's what he's saying. That is what he's saying. Matter of fact, let's go a little further into the article. Okay. He says, the article reads like this. Russia's military operation in Ukraine has turned into a full-fledged war. Not just a war, a full-fledged war. Before I go further on this, those of you who are listening, those of you who are frequent visitors and members of the show know that we deal with a lot of wordplay. And we break down the words and their meaning, and we try to show if this word holds any weight or if it's just a frivolous saying that you could just throw away. But remember, when we read the title of the article, it talked about Russia is at war. And then the main paragraph above the picture spoke of this going from a special military operation to a war. Now, the second, but the first, which is really the first paragraph, it's the second, but it's really the first. And it's the main header. It goes a little further and it states, Russia's military operation in Ukraine has turned into a full-fledged war after the West became a participant in the conflict. Kremlin spokesman Dimitri Peskov said in an interview with national media published on Friday. Now, why did I stop there and why did I emphasize that? Because we see that this special military operation has morphed into multiple things. The title says Russia is at war, according to the Kremlin. The sentence above the main picture of the article says, what started as a military operation has escalated after the West became a participant. So now we go from a military operation to war, and then we go to escalation. And then this main paragraph, there's something that is of the utmost importance that I believe that you should understand here. Russia's military operation in Ukraine has turned into a full-fledged war. It is no longer a military operation. It is no longer just a war. It is no longer just an escalation. It has become a full-fledged war. And why did I put emphasis on that? Why? It is because with a full-fledged war, we then understand the thinking of the leadership of Russia and what came out of President Vladimir Putin's mouth when he talked about not hesitating to use the most deadly and advanced weapons that are possessed by the Russian Federation. If Russia was not at this moment, the president would not have spoken such serious words. And the words were not lost. He was telling the West and signaling to the West that the escalation level and all of the escalatory steps that you continue to make, remember that you can never escalate higher than we can escalate. You understand? So when we look at this, I want you to pay close attention to this. Russia has escalatory dominance it is the main military power on the European continent. Forget what they're talking about. You know, I hear a lot of them say, well, Russia wouldn't dare do X, Y, and Z. This is what Macron is banking on, right? To be able to bully and pump Russia. This is what a lot of the pundits and a lot of the politicians of the Western Alliance often talk about, that NATO combined has a more powerful armed forces. Well, this cannot be the case. We're watching it in real time. Yeah, we're going to talk about Palestine, but let's get this, because this is something major, okay? And Palestine is something major that should be talked about. And for those of you who are joining us, we're waiting for Dimitri Lascaris to join us. I don't know what's going on with the links or whatever like that, but remember, he is in Palestine. And I remember yesterday, Rashid told me, he said, if they allow him to get on the air, and he laughed at each other. He said, you know, man, they'll do anything to prevent truth from coming out, especially on this platform. So we're going to wait around and see if Dimitri can join us. All right. And if not, as always, we'll reschedule. I'm waiting for him. My message has been delivered. So listen. Russia is the top military power when it comes to the European continent. Even Barack Obama understood that. He understood that. Now, we see Russia mopping the floor with not just the Nazis in Ukraine, but with the entirety of the Western military bloc. Because remember that there has been an influx, constant influx of Western quote-unquote mercenaries to the battlefield. Advisors, quote-unquote, from all NATO countries. And they have been screaming about upping the delivery of more weapons. And Russia has been taking the weapons out and those mercenaries and those advisors. As a matter of fact, there was a massive strike yesterday across Ukraine that took out of some of these decision-making spots and places where Western leaders and Western advisors are there and Western troops are there, okay? Today, we had a massive strike. This morning, we had another massive strike across Ukraine, all right? That was taking out things like that. Now, in Ukraine, but not only Ukraine, across the board on the European continent, when it comes to aerial dominance, Russia reigns supreme. When it comes to naval dominance, Russia reigns supreme. When it comes to land army, Russia reigns supreme. When it comes to the output and the manufacturing of the military industrial complex, Russia reigns supreme. These are facts. So we see Russia outproducing, outgunning, and outmanning not just the Nazis in Ukraine, but the entirety of the Western terrorist alliance, the North Atlantic Terrorist Organization. So when you hear the Western officials talk about the power of NATO and how Russia wouldn't dare do this, and some of them are speaking of through hubris and being inebriated on the idea of NATO being the most powerful military force on the planet. And others are just talking. You know how when you're at the poker table or when you're at a cards game and you got a lot on the table. You got a lot riding on this hand. It's a make or break hand. And then you get dealt a real bad hand. But you're known for being one of the best card players. So you give that blank stare and you give that bravado and that confidence as though you still have a good hand and you're ready to play out. So you up the ante, right? When everybody else is, I fold. You're up in the ante. What you're doing, you're trying to see if you can punk the major rival on the other side of the table. That's what NATO, that's what the United States is trying to do with Russia. That's what is going on. Okay, in real time. So, hold on, let me see something. All right. I thought that was Dimitri, but that was Tariq right here. All right, Tariq says, Tariq will be here live next Friday. He says, many thanks. All the very best. Looking forward to Friday. All right, good. I hope Dimitri has gotten the message also. But let's go further. So, let's read the rest of this. Let's see if this is this is a short article. So let's read the rest of it and let's break this down. And I'm just reading this with you all. Okay. The next paragraph goes this way. And the reason I'm reading this like this is for understanding. Okay. We have to break down what is said to us. If not, the people will speak over our head. It says Moscow will continue to pursue its goal of ensuring that the Ukrainian military cannot pose a threat to Russian citizens or territory. The spokesman told the Argumenti Fakti newspaper, noting that the country now has 4 new federal subjects which must be protected and fully liberated from Kiev's forces. Peskov stressed that Russia cannot allow the existence on its borders of a state that publicly claims it will seize the Crimean Peninsula as well as Russia's new territories, referring to the Donetsk and the Lugansk People's Republics and the Zaporozhye and Kherson regions. All right? And listen to what he says after that. This is a quote. We are at war. That's what he said. That's what Peskov stated. We are at war. And then it goes and says, explaining that while the conflict began as a special military operation, as soon as the collective West became a participant in this on the side of Ukraine, for us, it became a war. Bim. And that is why Vladimir Putin issued his statement a few days ago about prepared to take on anybody that threatens Russia's national security and would not hesitate to use the most deadly and the most advanced weapons. And then he made a comment, and I'm a butcher it, but he says, nuclear weapons are not just made, we don't just make nuclear weapons just to hold them. They're meant to be used. This was after a French general stated that the French armed forces was ready for war. Right, and this was after French leaders were talking about that France is a nuclear power. Here's the kicker. You can put the United States nuclear arsenal, the UK's nuclear arsenal, France's nuclear arsenal, and India's nuclear arsenal all together with the United States, right? And Russia still has the largest nuclear stockpile in the world. So, first of all, let's look at this just through the eyes of someone with common sense. My proxy war is failing bad, and I'm getting beat back. And I'm losing men from my nation and from the alliance nations. We cannot match Russia's output of weapons and materials for war. Some of us are dependent upon cheap Russian gas, Russian oil, fertilizer, and all of this other stuff in Russia's commodities, right? How can we truly think that we can win a war, specifically and especially Europe, with no commodities, because Europe has little to no resources, and you're fighting against the person that provides you with 40% of your resources, right? And your currency is backed by nothing, but yet that nation has an abundance of commodities like gold and oil and silver and palladium and platinum and all of these things. While at home in Europe, the economic situation becomes more dire. While at home in America, the economic situation becomes more dire as the governments refuse to listen to the people's cry for justice and the people's cries to be heard. The people are starving, being evicted, having to exist on scraps out of the garbage, or having to make crucial choices on whether I should pay my rent or my car note or my phone bill or my medicine, get my medicine, or buy food. And you can allocate every turn, you can turn and you can find 500 million, 5 billion, 7 billion, $20 billion for Ukraine. And this is not even an existential war for you. This is a war of choice for you because you want to completely surround Russia and China to subject them and subjugate them to the whims of imperial power. This is what this is all about. Sometimes when I'm talking to you all, I get exasperated because more people don't talk about this. Think about what is taking place. These madmen and women in office. I want you to think about this because this goes to Palestine also, okay? It's not an existential threat to the United States, the war in Ukraine. It's not an existential threat like Macron said to France or Europe. It's an existential threat to Russia that NATO turned Ukraine into a base to batter the Russian Federation. And they openly stated that they wanted to do that, right? So look at the mad thinking in these people's minds. To accomplish that goal, to try to subjugate Russia, to try to encircle Russia and China, they are willing to play with the lives of the surrounding nations. They're willing to disregard the people's lives, their culture, their needs, their desires, their wishes, their wants, their security, right? And use them as cannon fodder to try to force their will on other nations. I was looking at, and we talked about this yesterday. There was an article on RT, and they wrote an article about this, I believe it was a Polish general. And he talked about that Ukraine has lost millions, not 30,000, 31,000, not a couple 100,000, but millions of lives because of this war. Millions. Do you see how sadistic, arrogant, abrasive, abusive these people are? To disregard the lives of millions of people, to try to break away what was a culturally bonded unit of Russia and Ukraine, to just for advantage geopolitically. They believe that that is the price. Seymour Hersh did an article, and he was saying that Ukraine could have signed a peace agreement a few months ago, and the U.S. said, if you do it, we're not going to fund your government. Remember, that goes back to something that I told you guys, that you cannot say that Zelensky controls everything. You cannot put all of the burdens of this war on these people, even though they're puppets, right? And they're responsible for certain things, because you don't have to put yourself in a position to be a puppet to the puppeteers and the puppet masters, all right? But all of the blame for the military failures, for the economic failures, for the political failures, are on the back of the UK, the US, and NATO. Because going back to what I was saying, there was an article and it was talking about how the US told them that if you sue for peace, we're not going to fund this year's budget. We're not giving you this 45 billion or 50 billion or whatever it was to fund your government. And I want to show you how contemptful this is to the UK. I want to show you how contemptful this is to the United States, the citizens I'm talking about. Okay? While I'm talking about this other, we're going to expound on this stuff to show you. These people care nothing about you. They scream about British national security, the U.S. national security, European national security, and at every turn, their policies are undermining everything that they scream that they're trying to secure. All right? So now, remember, there was a HUD report. I believe it was the HUD report, if I'm not mistaken. And it came out saying that it took $20 billion to eradicate homelessness, and another $20 to $40 billion to completely eradicate poverty. So now, one of the main priorities of the government and of the leaders is to try to put the people whom they govern in a better position to live so that the country or the republic can prosper more. So why can't you allocate the $60 billion to eradicate homelessness, to eradicate poverty that you're trying to get past so that you can give it to the weapons makers and have another 200, 300,000 lives lost in the Ukrainian battlefield? Do you understand that these people are madmen and women? They're psychos. They get off on bloodlust. They get off on this stuff. There's no other way around this. There's no way that a civilized person, a God-fearing person, could take the helm of leadership and then proceed to use nations against nations to benefit your pockets, to benefit your position at the loss of millions of lives. You say Hitler was a madman because he killed X amount of people. What about Joe Biden? The guy says that this war has taken over, he said, millions of lives. So does that not put him in the same position as Hitler? Because if millions, we're going to say the minimum, millions is 2 at least. So if you say millions, that's plural, right? It's not 1 million. It's more than 1 million. So we're going to take the minimum number and we're going to say 2 million. Doesn't that make you a psychotic, blood-lusting, bloodthirsty killer? If that was done under your policies, and that's done because you continue to try to use the facade of helping Ukraine. If you want to help Ukraine, leave them alone. Right? Mind your own business. Let them get their own house in order. Right? Otherwise, we're going to still have this. This, beyond a shadow of a doubt, shows us who the bloodshedder is. Right? Beyond a shadow of a doubt. Remember that America has been at war almost her entire existence. What is it? 9 or 16 years that she hasn't been at war? Well, we know she's been at war, even if it was covert stuff, but they're talking about actual wars. And for those of you who are my Christian brothers and sisters, isn't there something in the scriptures that talks about the bloodshedder and how God will make war with those who delight themselves in the making of war? Isn't there something in there? So now, if we have a backdrop of a scripture, I'm talking to my Christian brothers and sisters now, and I'm talking to the Muslims, my Muslim brothers and sisters. If scripture tells you that there is a bloodshed, one has to compare life and action to see where we stand at in today's world. And there's no nation or combination of nations fit that title better than someone that has been at war almost the entirety of their known history. Now look what is happening. I know now they're stopping Demetrius from coming on the air. I know it. I'm going to take a picture and I'm going to show you guys something that just popped up on my screen. I know for a fact now. Hopefully he can get through. I'm trying to stay on the air. I'm going to show you this. Let me take a picture of this right here. All right. Let's see if I can. All right. Let's see if this can get through. It might be smeared a little bit because I got the thing smeared. You see that pink square right there, right? And you see the things on the side. You see the pink square. I know some of you can't make it out, but I got to show you this. There's a pink square. There it is right there. You see it? It came in. They just disconnected me from locals. They just disconnected me from locals as I was talking. I guess truth hurts the guilty. Like Rashid often taught. Rashid said, brother, you can always tell which dog in the yard got hit when you threw the rock. Because the dog that barks the loudest is the one that got hit the hardest. Right? And I bear him witness with this. So we're seeing that, I don't know if it's StreamYard. I don't know if it's a combination of them, but I do know this. And let me put this out here right now. I want everybody to check out all of my platforms. Excuse me. Check out my platforms. Watch the number count. And watch how it'll go up. On Rumble too. It does this on Rumble too. It'll go up. Then 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 will go away. Then 1 or 2 will come back. Something like that. This is the number count. All right. Kiji Noi, the Asian journalist that I interviewed about a week and a half ago. He hit me up after the show, like later. I think it was the next day. I could be mistaken. I think it was the next day. He hit me up and I'm like, "Yeah, this is Rashid. What's going on?" He said, "Rashid, I noticed your number count goes way up. Your viewership goes way up, and the positive comments go way up." And then he says, "So I'm watching, and then I see the comments, the positive comments disappear, and your numbers just drop. They plummet." And I told him, I said, yeah, you get used to this. He said, "This is absolutely disgusting the way they do you." This is Kiji Noah. If you think I'm lying, ask him. Ask him. So this is how they do this platform. They artificially suppress my numbers. They continue to mess with the links, right? They continue to break links when I have guests on and all of this stuff like this. That is to frustrate you. That they can't frustrate me like that, but it's to frustrate you. Because by the grace of God, I'm gonna still be here. So I just wanted to take the time out just to show you that right there. Matter of fact, let's see if I can remove that off here. Can I? Let me see. Yeah, all right, I removed it off the screen because I'm talking to you all and it just popped up. Now, let's go back to what I said. Now, I haven't forgot what I was talking about. So, when we look to see who the bloodshedder is, one has to do an analysis of what, who, and how, and when. All right? Did you understand what I just said? Who fits the description? How do they fit the description? When? And what makes it so convincing? So when we look at that title, bloodshed, there has not been a nation in the history that we can point to that has been at war almost its complete history. So that has to be me in America. All right? All right? And she's never at fault for anything. Never. Never. with bases and ships all around the world. It's everybody else that's the provocateur, everybody else that's provoking, everybody else that's everybody else that's aggressive. She's never aggressive. Everything that she does is malevolent and benign, and it is on the up and up, according to her leaders. But the results after her presence show us a different America than what she portrays, a different Great Britain. Most of you don't realize why these wars in Palestine are taking place. Most of you don't realize why these wars in the Donbass and in Eastern Europe are taking place. Well, you're going to get it today, okay? So they may have stopped Dimitri from getting on the link, which we'll try to get him back because, you know, I think he'll be there for a week or another week or so. So we'll try to get him back on here if we can't get him on here. But look, let's look at these things as they are. You don't realize that what you're watching is a once in a lifetime event. Let me say that again. Because you have been inundated with propaganda, because you've been inundated with imperial hubris and exceptionalism, what you don't understand is that we are watching a once in a lifetime event. Think about this. The fall of Rome was what? A once in a lifetime event, right? The fall of Babylon was a once in a lifetime event. America, the most powerful nation in the history of the world in the last 6,000 years, is in utter and total decline. This is a once in a lifetime event. Never before in the annals of 5,000 to 6,000 years have a nation been so powerful, so rich, so influential, and lose it all and becomes so fragile and is willing to push the world towards nuclear war. This is a once in a lifetime event. And some of you don't realize, because I know for those of you who are in the UK, you're wondering why your government is involved in all of these things. Remember, the UK is one of the original colonial powers. So there should not be any wondering there. But since you're wondering, we're going to take it a little bit further. We're going to go into it. The reason that the UK, the reason that Germany, the reason that France and all of these other nations in Europe are implementing policies that are detrimental to the very people whom they claim to govern is because they see the gravy train becoming empty. I'm going to say that again. It's because they see the international gravy train becoming empty. And I'm going to elaborate on that as we talk. Prior to 2008, America was the global hegemon, economically, politically, in every sphere. Remember, America was always decades ahead of everybody else in the introduction of new advanced technologies. That's no longer the case. China issues more patents every year. Do you know China is getting 35 to 40% of the world patents? Did you know that? And yet the United States screams about China's infringement on U.S. technology. China has way more patents on advanced technology than the United States. Did you know that? Google it. Hold on 1 second, everyone. That medicine, it hits different. So I have to drink water. Oh, man. It's some levothyroxine. Some of you know what it is. So, again, some of you did not know that China has gotten more patents than the Western world. So, listen, think about this. If China is getting more patents for more inventions and more creations and authoring more scientific journals than the entirety of the West together, when you sit down and you do a logical breakdown of this, do you really think China is stealing U.S. technology now? Huh? Would that even be logical? Now, we can say yes, except we see examples where this is not the case. America starts the railgun project. China starts about 8 to 10 years later. So America has a big lead on China. China has operating railguns on their warships. The United States shut down its railgun project because they did not see it as feasible. Okay? The U.S. started a hypersonic program way before China. China has the most advanced hypersonic, according to Western scholars. I'm not talking about people that are just guessing, because most people say, well, Russia has the most advanced hypersonic weapons. I'm telling you what intelligence circles are saying, that China has the most advanced hypersonic weapons. Now, that's up for debate, but I'm just telling you this, right? But America has no working one. And when she did the one the other day, guess what happened? She said it was a success. But there were some little things, and you know how when you watch TV and they say, this medicine is great for you. It stops this. And then at the bottom of the screen, in little, small, barely legible letters at the bottom, it says, this may cause heart attack. This may cause stroke. This may cause all of these side effects. Well, that's what took place. So they didn't tell you the reality of the situation with the so-called successful hypersonic missile test of the United States. What I'm trying to get to you is this. The Western world's monopoly on technology is over. This has them up enraged. Because if I control the flow of technology, that means I can apply this technology to my military also. And if I can apply this to my military, I can use my propaganda machines to shield my filthy and dirty actions. And then I can use my military to enforce my economics on everybody else. Without having the advantage in technology as she once did, and with her economies faltering from the United States to the EU to the UK, she does not carry that weight economically anymore, and now being challenged not only by Russia, not only by Iran, not only by China, but by the entire global South. She does not have that oomph, that weight behind her politically either. And think about this, when you've ruled so universally for the last couple hundred years, and you see what you and your brethren have established, and you become enraged because you're no longer the cream of the crop. You can no longer give an order or dictate to someone, and even if they don't like it, they put it into play because they're fearful of angering the empire. They're fearful of angering the Western world. That's no longer the case, and this has them enraged. It's the mentality of the bully. As long as I'm able to bully, as long as I'm able to benefit from my brute strength and my ability to throw hands, right? I can get the spoils of war through threats. But now somebody's on the block that's just as big as me, if not bigger. They can throw hands and they got to have a ground game, right? And you are 30 years older than they are. Huh? When that reality sets in, fear sets in, because you're no longer the big kid on the block. You're no longer the enforcer. You're no longer able to impose your will, your dictates, and your terms on everybody else. That's why they continue to harp on the international rules-based order. There's no such thing as an international rules-based order. This is the product of American and British thinking. On one of my previous shows, what was it, last year, they had the definition of that up on Google, and I read it to you. Google took it down. Google took it down after I did a few shows showing you what the rules-based order is. You know how you hear all of these pundits talk about the international rules-based order. And in that definition, it stated that the international rules-based order was diametrically opposed to international law. That was the definition of it. And it had more in there, but that's specific that I can remember at this moment. That it was diametrically opposed to international law. So if America says that she's after international law and yet allows Israel to bomb the hell out of the Palestinians, to kill 30-some thousand people, and then come on the scene talking about, we'll build a dock there. You know why you want to build a dock there? Because you want to control what comes in and what goes out. You want to turn the Gaza Strip, you want to deport these people. You've already kicked them off of most of Palestine and renamed it. Then you want to remove their presence off Gaza because it becomes an attractive piece of real estate. Waterfront. And you can use this for money. And don't forget about the newly discovered oil and gas fields off of the coast of Gaza. So when America and Israel and the West speak, they are double speaking. They're not telling you the reality of the situation because these people are sociopaths. How in the hell can anyone accept the killing of 31,000 people, 18,000 children, 18,000 children, and then say you're a leader of a nation and you do nothing? Especially claiming that you are the world's sole superpower, and you allow for the mass slaughter of 18,000 children in a matter of a few months span. Huh? That's not genocide? That's not ethnic cleansing? Matter of fact, give me a second real quick. Give me a second while I'm talking to you. All right. Meaning of genocide. Boom. According to Google, Google's dictionary, the word genocide is a noun. It means the deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group. A campaign of genocide. Similar, racial killings, massacres. How many people were killed? 31,000. How many children? 18,000. I'm gonna show you how sadistic these people are. So they're starving the people out. Listen, what I tell you is something that they're doing in Britain, they're doing in Europe, they're doing in Africa, they're doing in America, they're doing everywhere they have their claws in. But right now, specifically, we're going to deal with Gaza, okay? Israel and the United States dropped food. Well, the United States and the UN dropped food, allow convoys to come in. Israel gets real-time intelligence where the convoy is. As the people who are starving runs to the convoy to get fed and to get water, they deliberately bomb the UN convoy. Stop me when I'm lying. That's not an act of war. That's not an act of crime against humanity. That's not genocide. That's not ethnic cleansing. Put it like this. What would the West say if the shoe was on the other foot? And if the West would say differently, if it was done to Israel, can we not say that this is racial, this is ethnic hypocrisy? Huh? Because look at this. They are allowing tens of thousands of people to be killed, and the people who are doing the killing are not going to jail. But you question anything that is put out by the Zionist regime, and in Europe, you can go to prison. Make that make sense. See, this is what I'm telling you. These people are sociopaths. If you fall in for the propaganda, oh man, I hate it for you. You're gonna be a loser. You're gonna be a loser because the system is losing, the leadership is losing, the government's a loser. This is why they are all working together. Again, this goes back to my point at the top of our discussion. The reason you see the European Union, the US government, and the UK continue to push the world to the brink of war is because they're losing everything. And they, for so many decades and so many years, they cannot fathom anybody outside of the Anglo world dominating global politics, dominating global commerce, dominating militarily. They can't fathom that. And instead of allowing something that could be more just, something that could be beautiful to flourish and grow, they're prepared to burn it all down. They're prepared to burn it all down. See, all of them, by hook or by crook, they are trying to impose their will and their system on everybody. You understand? And it is unreal that most people don't get this. I don't hear anybody talking like this. It's like they will go so far, the alternative media will go so far up to a point. And then when it conflicts with their money or with their subscribers or with their connections, they pull back. They don't want to be blunt and straight. Listen, when you're dealing with people, you look them in the eyes. Listen, my mom told me this, my pops told me this growing up. When you deal with somebody, you look them in their eyes. You tell them what you can and can't do, right? And you give them, if you're going to work for them, I don't care who they are, you give them an honest, hard day's work, right? And you treat people the way you would like to be treated. And always remember that you have to do right because that's the right thing to do, not because anybody's looking, because you may be in a room and nobody is in the room and you may see all this money and no cameras up and you may need the money and you might take it and run. But remember, there's always a higher power watching you. This is, my mom put that in my head. God is always watching you. How in the hell can you say on one hand that you are a God-fearing nation, a God-fearing man, or a God-fearing woman, and allow for the mass slaughter of tens of thousands of people? I don't care if you Muslim, Christian, or what. Right is right, and wrong is wrong. And the question should be asked to the Muslims that didn't do anything and won't do anything. Would Muhammad do that? The question should be asked to the Christians who haven't done anything and won't do anything. Would Jesus do that? Huh? These people are crazy as hell. And you are empowering them by accepting their narratives on this stuff here. And common sense tells us that this will not go on in perpetuity. Listen, everybody, as I'm talking to you all, I want you to think for a minute. Most of you are not atheists here. Most of you relate to a God or something. Okay? Now, if that is the case with you all, listen to what I'm saying here. And you know that God is a just God, right? How can you say that you represent him when all of your policies are unjust? How can you look at Joe Biden, for instance? This man is up to his neck in eyeballs in the corruption scandals in Ukraine. This man is up to his neck in eyeballs with the war in Ukraine. The man was up to his neck in eyeballs when they destroyed Libya. They in Somalia bombing the Somali people, claiming to be fighting terrorists. Notice the terrorists never arrived to these places until the United States get there, till the UK gets there. That should tell you something right there. How can you be a God-fearing man, God-fearing woman, God-fearing person, and do nothing, say nothing about ungodly actions which are representing you because they're your government and your leaders, and you allow for them to take your money and push it off the wall without saying a word, without voicing your dismay and grudge about it? You just allow it. Then you become a part of the problem. You become a part of it. You cannot extricate yourself from the matters of your government, because the government, right, is supposed to be, these democracies are supposed to be elected government that reflects the will of the people. So even if they don't reflect the will of the people, if they are governing the nation, the ramifications of the actions of the government boomerang back on the people whom they govern. Do you understand? The mass slaughter of people. There is no way in hell that you can tell me that you believe in God, that you believe in karma, that you believe in judgment, right? Or a day of judgment, and that you want to meet your God so bad, right? And yet you're ungodly and you're allowing ungodly things to happen in your name. How is that? If God is a right God, and I'm not making this religious, but I'm talking. Sometimes you got to speak to the core of people, and innately there's something in your soul that has you to gravitate towards a higher power. So I'm speaking to that higher power in you, okay? Because it seems like rational thinking and rational talking on the carnal level has not seeped into most of the people. So now we have to elevate from the carnal to another plane, to another sphere. How can you say you believe in a God, in this God that you believe in is righteous and just, right? And then you allow for all of these unjust, unrighteous actions to take place? Don't Joe Biden go to church, right? He says he's a devout Catholic, right? What God does he pray to? Because that God that he prays to cannot be that God that Jesus prayed to. Cannot be that God that Moses prayed to. Because Joe Biden has shown himself to be a killer. He has shown himself to be arrogant. And he's shown himself to dismiss the will of the people and the cries of the people who are suffering because of these irrational, illegal, unjust policies that continue to be pushed by the US, the UK, and the European governments. I'm talking to y'all. Yeah, I'm talking to y'all. Now I'm pressing on something that's innately built deep inside people. Something of a higher power. Because, as I said, the carnal is not getting through. Right? It's just when I think about this situation, I get mad. Because the news is focused on Ukraine and the loss of thousands of lives. It's not focused on what the French, the Germans, the Belgians, just put the colonial nations are still doing in Africa. Trying to destabilize the area, to steal the resources. That's what they're doing. And most people are not calling it out because they're too focused on Ukraine. They're not talking about how they're destroying the middle class in their nations, reducing these people to beggars and squatters. And then after reducing the people to squatters, like in the state of Florida, they're passing an ordinance that says that, listen to me good, man, I'm telling you, these people are insane, man. Sometimes I say, this has to be bizarre world. This has to be. So they're passing an ordinance in Florida that will not allow homeless people to sleep on public property, like benches in the parks, in areas like that, right? And they're outlawing this. Anything that's a public property, they can't sleep on. But where the hell are they going to go? Now, here's something that should be asked to the governments that are passing these things, like what Florida is doing. You say they can't do it on public property. Public property. So if it's the public property and they are part of the public, don't they have some type of ownership in it? And why are you so involved with this? Why can't you allocate money? You allocate money for stadiums to get football teams in. You're telling me the lives of thousands of people are not as important as a football team? My phone is going off in the bag. I'm sorry, everybody. Hey, Nicole, would you turn that off for me? Thank you. I'm sorry, everybody. My phone is going off. I have a lot of calls and stuff coming. But listen, you can allocate hundreds of millions of dollars to build a football stadium. The football stadium can hold 100,000 people. You have a problem of homelessness of upwards of 200,000, 300,000 people. Why don't you just build the thing and let the people stay there? That'll rid you of the crime, the violence, the drug abuse, the people wandering the streets. That'll rid you of all of that. That's a solution right there. But you're telling me sport and play is more important than the lives of people. I cannot get with that. No, I cannot get with that. I'm built different. You're not going to tell me that Ukraine is more important than people who pay taxes here. Ukraine is more important over there, but to the people here who are struggling every day with their children, who are struggling every day to make ends meet. How in the hell can you ignore these people on a daily basis and then live with yourself and go before the camera like you are representing people? Oh, man, these people are demonic. I'm telling you this. I'm sorry, everybody, it does something to me because I'm so tired of people being misused. Hold on one second. I got something. All right. Yeah. Okay. I had just got a private message. I'm sorry. But let's see. Let me scroll down. Hey, Deborah, I see what you said about Macron. I can't put that on the screen, but I see what you put up there about Macron of France. Let's see. Holly says there are mercs in Ukraine anyway. Yeah. Deborah says Lyndon LaRouche's Oasis plan for peace. Disband NATO. And Deborah says something that is not far from reality. British Empire rules the USA. Oh man, I'm telling you, that's a lot right there, Deborah. U.S. ceasefire resolution failed UN Security Council. Holly Horn says, yeah. My phone is going off here too. Both phones are going off. Let's see. Okay. Holly Horn says, let me highlight this one right here. Well, German MP Baerbock, said we are at war with Russia. Well, she's telling the truth. Listen, I don't know what your definition of war is. All right. But if I have a beef with Holly and I turn Deborah against Holly and I start arming Deborah and I start having her to be inculcated with these ideas of superiority over Holly, right? And then and Deborah and Holly live right next door. It's a line bridge right between their property, right? and we continue to provoke Holly, right? And I continue to supply Deborah with the necessary weapons and armaments and the finance to do what she's doing, I'm a party to the war. Because when Holly strikes out after Debbie or vice versa, guess what? They're going to go for the snake's head, which is me, the one who's arming, the one who's giving political cover, and the one who is financing. This goes back to something that I was talking about at the beginning of our discussion. You cannot put the blame of the collapse of the Ukrainian armed forces on Zelensky. He's a fool. He's a puppet. But you cannot put that on him. You cannot put all of the mistakes that the Ukrainian armed forces made and all of the losses that they made on the leadership and the military leadership of Ukraine. But that's what the alternative media and that's what the Western press is doing. There is no way, listen to me good, there is absolutely no way on earth. Let us use common sense for a minute. And maybe you can share this with some of the bigger channels. Because it seems like when it comes to this, they give too much time to the West and what the West is saying. America, they're very upset with Ukraine for doing this and doing that and blah, blah, blah. Did that stop America from giving Ukraine money? Did it stop the West from sending leaders over there? No. So, okay. So now, the United States funds 90+% of the Ukrainian government, not just the military, but the government budget, 90+%, with the sprinkles coming in from the EU and the UK. The United States is the largest supplier of armaments and arms to Ukraine, right? These decision-making centers are staffed by U.S., UK, and NATO specialists, generals, and ambassadors, right? The CIA has its own embedded unit in the SBU, which is the Ukrainian equivalent to the FBI or the CIA, right? All right. The Ukrainian armed forces are embedded with so-called, quote-unquote, Western mercenaries, which are, in reality, special forces, right? Every battle that they've lost, the blame has been laid on Ukraine. None of the blame has been laid on the people who drew up the plans behind the scene, who gave the go-ahead for the plans, right? And who was talking before the cameras braggadocious. Now, remember when I brought up an article earlier today, when I told you that the United States stopped Ukraine from going on with this peace plan recently, that Seymour Hersh, you can read it on Russia. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Seymour Hersh. Let's see. Oh, give me a second. Let's see. Let's see if I can pull it up. Give me 1 second. U.S. Ukraine. All right, let's see if that'll pull it up. Give me 1 second. March 22nd. Let's see. I think I'm getting close to it. Hold on 1 second. Because Seymour Hersh wrote an article, and in this article, let's see if I can find it. It may be on Sputnik. Anyway, he wrote an article, and he said in that article that the United States told Ukraine that if they went along with those peace plans in the previous months, that the United States would not give them that $45 billion to fund their government, right? So what did the United States just show right there? That they have ultimate say over all policies in Ukraine, right? Right? Even at the loss of mass life, right? The Ukrainian government went after the money. They could have stopped the bloodshed and said, you know what? Don't give us the money. We'll eat grass, but we'll preserve the lives of these youth that we have put in the military meat grind, right? But the United States says, hey, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, I'm pulling the plug on the weapons. I'm pulling the plug on the political cover, and I'm pulling the check back. So now, if Seymour Hersh is saying that, right? Think about this. How can the defeat of the Ukrainian armed forces or the situation in Ukraine be put on the back of Zelensky and the politicians, when in reality, it's the United States, the UK, and NATO calling the shots? Remember that Zelensky can't do anything without funding. Ukraine can't do anything without funding. This funding has to come from somewhere. Where's it coming from? The U.S. And if I pay the cost, I'm the boss. I'm not giving you $3,000 to pay your home mortgage, and you just push me back to irrelevance. If I give you this money, it's strings attached to this, right? That's America. Why don't they see that? Why are not only the mainstream media, but the so-called alternative media ignoring those facts? Huh? And why are they slow to talk about these issues? And most of them only talk about it when they can no longer ignore them or omit them. So it must be something in the media that is not right. I remember I interviewed Scott Ritter. And Scott Ritter told me that he said, we need to check, and I'm paraphrasing, we need to check the alternative media because the alternative media has been compromised. And I was like, yeah, that's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying. Think about this. And this is not something just on me. My show, I get thrown off the air. My links to my guests get blocked. My numbers go down. They suppress my numbers after they come up. They unsubscribe people, right? And then you have people that talk somewhat on the line of what I'm saying. They go to 100, 200, 300,000, and they go rapidly. Why is that? That is something that you should think about. Why is that? So, again, we're in the midst of a fall, unlike anything the world has ever seen before. America and the Western world, the so-called rules-based order, is like Humpty Dumpty. Let me see something real quick while I'm talking to you, and before we call it. I thought he may be able to get through, but evidently he didn't get through. He'll hit me up. Let me check something real quick. Hold on 1 second, everybody. No, he hasn't gotten it yet. So let me know something's going on. I want hold on 1 second. Hold on. All right. Let me see. Let me see this. Give me 1 second, everybody. I'm seeing if I can pull this up for you all. All right. Give me 1 second. Let's see if it'll come up. Because Google has scrubbed the internet of this. Let's see if this is. Let's see. What isn't it? They scrubbed it. Hey, check this out. This is crazy. Listen, they took part of the definition and left it up. And the part about the part of the definition that talks about the rules-based international order being in contradiction to the international order, they took that off. They cut it. It's absolutely crazy. It's crazy. Let's see. Let's see if I can pull up something else. Man, these people are something else. They removed that. Google scrubbed that, so you won't get that put up on the screen. So what they've done is eliminate a talking point. But you can go back to some of my earlier programs last year where I actually put the definition up. We took it up and put it on the screen, what they had on Google, and Google just scrubbed it. I told everybody, I said, you better read this beforehand because Google will scrub the internet of it. Because remember, Google is one of these alphabet intelligence agencies' assets. Intelligence agencies' assets. So listen, everybody, I want to take the time out right now and apologize. I could not get the link for Dimitri to go through. I'm going to get with him as soon as the show is over, and we're going to try to make this right. All right, we're going to try to make this right. What happened? I sincerely apologize for that. I had no control over it. And as you saw, I put the thing up where they disconnected the links. All right, crazy. In the middle of talking and going over things, they disconnected the link. This is crazy the way they do this show. So I ask each and every one of you to spread the word, and also do this for me, please. It'll take just a few seconds. It doesn't cost you a dime. If you have subscribed to me on not Patreon, on YouTube, please go and check and see if you still subscribe. And if you are, hit the bell icon. So, and you say, well, I may have hit it. Okay, unclick it, then click it again, because some people are not getting the messages. Also, do the same thing over on Rumble, because I'm having problems with that, and people are getting unsubscribed left and right. And the only way for us to go forward, because they don't want this channel to grow and they want to censor us and they take us out the algorithm. The only way for that to happen is for you to take a part, play a part in this also. We're a team, remember. We want to talk truth. I'm talking truth. I need your help to get the message out to the people. I want to make people think, stop being lazy and letting all of this gift that God gave you up here go to waste. Use that gray matter. See, we've been lulled to sleep so long in this, I would say, digressive, not progressive, but digressive and immoral, unethical society. The atmosphere is like that in the Western world, right? Greed is the order of the day. Disrespect for life, disrespect for culture, disrespect for your religion, disrespect for this. This is the order of the day. And they're force feeding it to the people at the bottom. Let God be your guiding light through all of this madness. Measure your actions by God. Say, will God do that? Will God appreciate if I acted like that? You've got to look at yourself, do a real appraisal, because you don't want to get caught in the madness of the fall of America and the collapse of the Western world, because we're living in it. This is a once in a lifetime event. Just like when the comets come every 75 years or every 100 and some years. That's a once-in-a-lifetime event. We're living in that day and time. And I mean, it's hectic, but it's beautiful because you're seeing one world fall down, a world that has proven itself to be unworthy of rulership because it has brought us right up to the brink of thermonuclear war. I don't have to convince you that there's a need for a change. I don't have to convince you that those who are in power, who have dominated the entire global landscape, have proven that their policies and themselves are unworthy of the role to be the stewards and the leaders of international affairs, of economics, because they continue to push the world, push nations to war, to divide, to conquer, so that they can have more. 1 million is not enough. 10 million is never enough. 100 million is not enough. 1 billion is not enough. These people want everything and will do everything to get everything. You see it in motion right now. And if you don't abide by what they're doing, these people are crazy as hell and they're willing to kill you and take you to war. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? That shows you the devious, maniacal, evil that is entrenched in them. And they have to be removed. They have been weighed, they have been measured, and they have been found wanting. And now the whole world is wondering, what time is it? Well, let me look at my watch. It's time for a new world. It's time for a fair world. It's time for a more just and equitable world where the merits of your character stands above all else and not your connections with family and corporations and government officials. That is on its way out. As a matter of fact, it's in the waste bin now, being set on fire. On that note, I salute each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, anywhere on the face of God's green earth. This is your platform for education, liberation, and upliftment. This is the Red Pill Diaries. We may be doing a live stream later or early tomorrow, especially for channel members. We want you to keep a heads up. Go over to Patreon. We have a new live stream up over there. We're going to be doing try to do at least one live stream for channel members and one for patrons over on every week. So we're going to try to do that. So as we go out, let me tell you this. The one way to overcome this wicked world is with good, right? God is good, right? So you want to be God. So you want to try to think and act and speak good. You want your life to be measured by your actions along with your words. And if your actions are godly, no weapon formed against you will prosper, because you got the divine supreme being backing you up. And I don't care how many nuclear bombs they have. I don't care how many weapons they have. I don't care how many threats form against you. They'll never be able to overcome the Lord of the worlds. And that's for sure. Know that I love each and every one of you if you love truth. But know that the truth that I have and the love that I have for you always will pale in comparison to the love and the truth that my God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. I love you all. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. We're